Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Always Average. My name's Clay.
My name is Aaron.
Jesus Christ, could you yell into the mic any
Oh,
louder?
was I too close?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Anyways, now that the deaf guy's eardrums are blown out, this is Always Average. And today we're just going to talk about failure, which is why we're keeping all of that in.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
honestly, we've just been taking L's left and right here lately.
Yeah, it's not been the best of weeks for either of us.
Yeah.
So
But we want to connect with everybody, and we've been doing these other podcasts about like crypto and the Misinformation Mondays. And so one of the things that we wanted to do is just talk about stuff that we said we were going to do in the beginning, which is just try to relate, just let you know that you're not the only one out there, that we're sucking too.
Yeah.
And depending
We
on the
suck.
day, pretty hard.
here at Always Average, we suck.
Yeah.
I think there's a vacuum company that had that on like their motto. I was like, I'm buying a vacuum from them.
Well, yeah. So there was the what was it? Oh yeah, Dunder Mifflin. I was just watching The Office, and David Wallace, the CEO, he came up with the suck it.
Yeah, yeah. The suck,
The suck it.
the suck it.
That was his big invention. Yeah.
Laurano's gonna like that one. So, there's an Office reference.
Somebody's got to listen to this stuff.
Yeah. Well, do you want to start? Or do you want me to go? I mean, we've already started, but do you want me to?
Yeah. Just a heads up, your audio needs to be a little bit consistent.
Okay.
More consistent. So I think we've really got to get that leg stand thing.
All right.
back.
Do I need to be here?
Yeah.
Do I need to be here?
No, a little closer.
A little closer?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you want to be careful because when you turn back into it, then you're going to spike.
Okay. So I just need to be eyes locked on you the whole time. Look at me, but hear his face.
We could do the camera. What's up, everybody?
Okay.
Yeah, like I want to capture that when I'm just like, Pajah, that's when we should be like,
But
suck it.
hold on, your fingertips out of the frame. So make sure that if you guys didn't hear the intro of this is not going to make sense. But
Yeah.
if you did, then it's going to be hilarious. So
Yeah. The problem is the mic is really inconsistent.
okay. So what do we got to do?
Well, you're getting this
Okay.
the whole time. So I don't know.
All right. So I
Do what you will.
okay.
So, anyways, talking about sucking, we're 7 minutes in. I don't think we're talking about anything important yet, but I think a lot of that was BS beforehand. So
Okay.
let's get into it, man. What's going on with you?
I did not get into medical school
Yet.
Well, guaranteed, despite my best efforts, I did not get in this cycle. I found out that the particular school I wanted to get into, closed their application cycle early because they had so many applicants, and somehow I slipped through despite calling, emailing, and basically trying to be on top of my application in every way possible, given the circumstances. There's always, extenuating circumstances to most things, but I definitely had some failures along the way, which led to that. But yeah, I did not get in.
So, what were some things that? Let's talk about what you could have done and what you couldn't have done. Because obviously, I think one thing that we need to remember is that we can be really hard on ourselves, and that sometimes there are some things that are just kind of out of our hands. But on the other hand, there's usually almost always something that you can do. And my mom tried to drill this into me as a kid, and I used to hate it because I'd be like, "Mom, she stole my car." Like, not really sure what I was supposed to have done in that situation.
Yeah.
She'd be like, "Well, there's always two sides to every story." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure she took the keys and took the car." Like, I'm not tracking. So, what do you think are some things that you maybe could have done differently in that?
I could have got my application in at the very start. I don't know why I didn't. I'm a procrastinator. I can easily say that. So, the application cycle for those that don't know goes from like May to like May essentially for medical schools, but it almost a year in advance. So this May, the one that's opening right now, is for not this upcoming fall, but a year from now. So it's basically a year behind if you think about it. So I applied. I had pretty much everything in December, which is midway through the cycle, towards the end. But I was a previous applicant and name in the system, so it should have been. I should have at least gotten seen, but the verification process, which is for those that apply and have to deal with that, they all know that it's just basically a way for a third-party company to make money. They did not verify my application up until March, which I did not know because of a spelling error on one of the transcripts.
Oh, that was that pharmacology thing, right? They
Yeah.
like misspelled whatever the class name was.
There was a space between intro or two and pharmacology, and it read intro top of pharmacology, and because of that, they didn't verify my application.
Gotcha. So you turned it in what, January?
December,
Okay. And they didn't get it until
March.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So, I mean, that definitely on their part, that's like a 3-month gap, so to speak, that you could have turned it in. Now, the part that you were saying that we could have done differently was that it could have been turned in as early as when?
May.
That May before the
May
previous
year,
December.
yeah.
Okay.
May of that December.
Gotcha.
Or that year, yeah.
Yeah.
Almost a year ago, yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, yeah. Honestly, it kind of blows my mind a little bit though that like 3 months to hold on to somebody's application because they messed up on a spelling.
And every student has a waiting period for that from that like that third party company.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was just taking
Extra long.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
so,
I was also speaking with students who are going through the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's why I wasn't like busting down the door of this company to get there. But that's just a personal story. I don't want to get, too detailed on just one specific failure of mine. I just wanted to let everyone know that I feel like I failed because I've put so much into this recently. I would say when I graduated undergrad, I was like, oh, I want to be a doctor, but I didn't really do anything to, beyond taking the MCAT once and not doing that great at that given time. So, but this most recent round, I've volunteered. I got all the letters from the people I needed. I'm working at a rural health clinic now, thanks to you. So I feel like I put in the time and the effort, this time, and to come up short, to not even get an interview, to me feels like an ultimate failure. But yeah, that's just mine. And we want to let you guys know that, a lot of people see us as like, I've had a few people come to me and say, I really like the podcast. I really relate. And yeah, so I'm also a failure.
Well, hi, my name's Clay. I'm also a failure.
Yes.
No, I mean, there's lessons to take from that. I mean, the fact of the matter is that like you could have started closer to May. I don't know how many people do. It would have increased your chances. That would have taken, maybe you could have had this all squared away by like October. Mm-hmm. Had you started like maybe as soon as possible, even with them messing it up. So
part of the reason is I was taking the MCAT again in January. So I didn't really want to put in my application without having the better score, which I did get a better score.
Gotcha.
So I still could have, yes, but that was my reasoning is if I bomb the MCAT, what's the point of applying?
Sure.
So, like I said, extenuating circumstances, it's still a failure of mine.
Yeah.
But yes, there are lessons to be taken from that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I think that's all that matters is that you look at what happened and try and take what you can out of it because it's important to, try to improve yourself, which, can be done by, I guess, being critical of the things that you do, but also not taking it so far that you just give up. So, so speaking of, hi, my name's Clay and I'm a failure. So I'm getting used to saying that because so I am going through recovery with alcohol. It's my big fail for lately. It's been a struggle of mine for a long time. And I don't think I really thought of it as a struggle. I think I was drinking on last podcast.
Yeah.
We were having a grand old time over here. And I think I told myself because I was always having a grand old time that I didn't have a problem because I was just the fun guy doing fun things, telling funny stories. I've got a boatload of stories of, when I was drinking and whether it's like running through the Arizona desert naked or, honestly, there's probably too many to number. But
twerking with the ring, the floaty ring.
Oh yeah. I had I got some good photos. I had a buddy's birthday party. I think it was within like about a year ago. And, they rented out the upstairs bar. And, it was kind of a small shindig. And, I think things were kind of awkward because he invited me and some other people that didn't really know his family. And so he was like, how do you integrate the two sides? And I was like, well, dude, I'm not one to like not be friendly with people. So I was like, liquid courage, let's go. Next thing you know, I've got some wall decor, like one of those boat floaties, one of those little buoys. I had that around my neck and I was flexing, had my shirt like half unbuttoned and was posing on the bar, just trying to get him to laugh.
That was before
help everybody have fun.
really knew you. I think Hope showed me that picture.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. There's probably plenty of photos just floating around the internet, in general, of me after drinking, which is like another thing where it's like,
Yeah.
maybe not the
Well,
best.
congratulations.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like it's an L in one regard, but on the other hand, it's like it's something that I'm
You going
trying to overcome.
You going to AA is not the L.
right.
You realizing
Yeah.
this is not the L.
Yeah. I guess the L would be sitting on it for so long and not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
Looking at myself and saying like, okay, I'm having fun. Everybody else is having fun. We're all having a good time. People laugh at my stories. That's not the problem. Well, no, that is the problem. So that was where I was taking L's, is just continuing to do the same thing and kind of, I guess, justifying it, thinking that everything's hunky-dory, when in reality, it wasn't something that I could really control, and I didn't realize that I couldn't control it because I was using it as a social lubricant. Well, I also felt like I needed it to have it as a social lubricant,
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't just have fun and do those things and relax and enjoy my time around friends sober.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. I mean, ultimately, that was the problem. So, it's something I'm working through day by day. And it's just going to take time. I've got to rewire my thinking. I've got to come up with healthy coping mechanisms and, just figure out what my life's going to look like. Not on anything, because, at one point in time, when I kind of realized that drinking may be a problem, I was like, okay, well, maybe there are other alternatives. Marijuana is rapidly becoming legal in multiple states, and it's not in Tennessee yet, but, I've seen some studies about, getting off drinking. But I think if you're in recovery, it's probably just better to stay away from everything.
Gateway drug.
If you guys want to know more about marijuana, check out our other podcast that we have on YouTube.
It should be.
We should, yeah, okay, so we did put that one on YouTube.
No, it's not up right now, but it should be because it's.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we're gonna get that one edited up and knock that one out here pretty soon. We'll get that one up on YouTube. But yeah, anyways,
I mean, I also struggled during my master's program during COVID, the height of COVID. I was drinking nearly a 6-pack a night.
yeah,
Waking up hungover, doing the same thing, studying. I was stressed out from the master's program. It was you basically take the first year with the first year medical students. So I was taking anatomy, histology, and then there's a few other master's classes in there.
yeah,
And it was not easy, obviously. During COVID as well, so it's all online learning. We did have anatomy lab in the lab, but everyone went through COVID, so they know the struggles of the lockdowns. And I feel like I couldn't turn my brain off. So I by definition, I was an alcoholic during that time.
yeah, 100%. And that was where I think, being in recovery, meeting other people, like, I'm realizing that there's not like one definition for it, and that, I don't think having a problem, during a time in your life means that you're always going to have that problem.
Yeah.
Because I know while it can be really hard to get out of in the moment, what I realized for myself is that I don't have any control. Like, I thought I did, but I realized that I can't. Like, I can't just turn it off, and I can't stop when I should, or when I want to. You know what I mean? Like, there's no. If there's ever a time that I'm like, oh, well, I'm just going to do this, maybe I'll do that once. But chances are, if I try to do that multiple nights in a row, what is going to happen is a slippery slope's going to happen where I go from having a couple drinks at the end of the night just to relax, and then it's like, oh, I put away half a bottle without even thinking about it, and I'm still functioning, cleaning my house or doing whatever. But
Addiction is a real thing, and it's the addicted brain, which I don't know, at Servolution they're talking a lot about it. It's you don't even know that your mind and your body is doing this to you.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, well, like for me, it's like, oh, just another 6-pack,
Yeah.
I have to have it in order to go to sleep, to not stress. And while I don't do that anymore, it's, I didn't really see anything wrong with it. And that's, that's how you get down the path of, well, now I'm, married, 3 kids, and got a job I don't like. I'm drinking 12 beers a night.
Yeah, yeah. And listen, I couldn't sit here and tell you that it's the case because, I'm pretty sure my dad was an alcoholic and my grandfather was an alcoholic, and, maybe it was that, or, maybe it was my own stuff where it was just a lot of unhealthy coping mechanisms where, like you said, if I couldn't sleep, if I was stressed, if I was this, if I was that. And then over time, because I didn't drink until I was 18 and went overseas, and then I drank over there. So for the first 18 years, never touched the stuff, never cared for the stuff. But I do think pretty quickly I went off the deep end. So when I went overseas, I was like, oh yeah, we're doing tequila and Jaeger bombs and vodka. And dude, I got sick the first time.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, yeah, let's do everything. Like, let's have fun. I'm in Germany. Like, let's do it.
It's a Vaseland.
Yeah. But, the problem is shortly after that, I started doing that to cope with the fact that I'm in a foreign country. I was super anxious about that. I didn't know anybody. And so I just started drinking all the time. And, and I think after that, it just kind of, I was a 20-year-old in college, hanging out with friends that were all drinking all the time. And then I went in the military and I was drinking all the time. So, I just had from like 18 to, now I'm 30. It's 12 years of just hard drinking, man. Hard drinking.
Your liver's probably like, what is going on now?
I think at the worst, I was drinking like a handle on the weekend and a handle during the week. And I just didn't think much about it. I would put a giant handle.
Usually you don't when you drink that much.
Well,
so.
Yeah.
Sorry. For those that don't know, Clay and I are always going to be there for each other, but we are never going to let a joke slip by. So
that's right. Always going to slip it in.
Yes. Just like the roofies.
But yeah, man, I could put a whole handle of Jim Beam in the freezer and it just, it didn't even taste like whiskey to me. It just went down and, honestly was the easiest thing in the world. So,
yeah, there was actually a point in my life where, I had my shoulder tendonitis and I basically just ruined my shoulder and stopped lifting. And I actually stopped going out. Like I stopped being social, and it was a state of depression, I think. Because I knew if I went out, I was going to have to drink.
Yeah.
Or I wanted to drink.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky that I had a good support system from my family at that time, because I remember making a little video on my phone. Like I cried because lifting was all I had.
Yeah.
We talked about this in the first episode. I was a super skinny kid and I had gained some weight, and that's kind of where a lot of my confidence came from, because I did look good. I was muscular. And that was really all I had, I felt like, because as a male, it's like, well, if you're not big and brawny, then, that was what I was told and thought, attracted.
Yeah.
What I wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No, listen, I thought the same thing. I never really, I hung out around girls my whole life because I grew up 2 sisters, my mom mostly. So, I got to a certain point in my life, I didn't even know how to associate with guys.
Yeah.
Like I really had no idea. All my friends were girls, and then, and then you hit puberty, and then you're like, okay, well now I'm attracted to them, and I don't know how to talk to guys. And I'm now nervous around girls. So
attracted to guys too.
Yeah.
Joking.
But it's definitely something that I'm realizing goes way farther back. Whereas like I may not have been an alcoholic then per se, but it was probably still in there. It was like I probably, I don't remember what I did as a teenager, but I probably had unhealthy coping mechanisms. And then when I found alcohol, it's like, oh, I can just escape from all my problems.
Yeah.
Like, this is great.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. That's probably the best one I've heard, and I've heard that before. It's an escape. It's just, and there's nothing wrong with escaping, like if you've had a hard week or whatever, and you want to grab a 6-pack or what, do it. But you need to realize that you can't be doing that every single night, every single week. You eventually need to face your problems.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I would see, figure out if you're using it as a crutch, because I hear all these things. People do a lot of this stuff all the time. That's like you have, at the end of the day, you have to figure out what it is that makes you an alcoholic if you are one, and that can be hard to do. Obviously, I ignored it for 12 years. I had no idea. I just didn't think of it in those terms, and then you meet people in recovery, and I never had a DUI. I never got arrested for it. I never passed out, in public and was woken up by, I don't know, anybody. So, in my head, well, I mean, I may have been in somebody's apartment. I wasn't like outside of anybody's house.
Yeah.
I didn't like pass out in the streets or anything like that. So, and I made all these excuses for myself because I didn't think that it was that bad because I was just the happy party guy. And so I told myself that everything was fine. But I mean, the end result is still the same, which is that I couldn't control it. I may have been able to one time, every once in a while. I may have been able to quit for a week, but the problem is that I would always come back to it, and I would always overdo it, and I would, it's just not healthy.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to look up the textbook definition of an alcoholic because it's actually considering, like you said, was it you or somebody else who mentioned it's only in our part of the world that we really drink the way we do? I mean, I know the Brits drink.
Yeah, well, so I mean, everybody kind of has a different relationship with it depending on like, I don't know, I guess what their laws are around it. I mean, I guess that can formulate different habits. Like for example, if you're in Germany, you can, I think, have beer with your parents at 14, beer by yourself at 16, and liquor by yourself at 18.
Yeah.
And so I think if you grow up on that, then maybe there's a little bit less stigma to it. But never being able to touch alcohol and then going to Germany and then all of a sudden hard liquors available to me, never having been drunk before. I mean, I didn't have a guide. You know what I mean? I was just,
I'll have one alcohol, sir, please.
Yeah, no, I was just freewheeling it. I remember at one time I literally I did a Jaeger bomb and I threw the Jaeger bomb back and then threw back up into the Jaeger bomb glass.
Oh.
And, but I got sick and so my stomach felt empty. So I felt better. And I was like, cool, I'll take another beer. And she's like, what? And I was like, can I get another beer? I was like, I'm fine now. I feel much better. I think we were just mixing alcohols and that messed me up. And she goes, oh yeah, sure. I convinced her to get me another beer. And I just was like, I talked myself into it and I talked her into it, the server at this place. So, I mean, I convinced both of us that, it was only because I mixed all these alcohols and then I was going to be fine. It was probably my body telling me that I drank way too much, way too fast, and was probably heading really quickly towards alcohol poisoning if I didn't slow down and stop. So
that's usually a good indicator.
Yeah. But my brain doesn't tell me when enough is enough. It tells me you can keep going.
Yeah.
You'll be all right.
A little voice on your head.
Yeah.
Or on your head, in your head, on your shoulder.
I don't know. What is the nature of consciousness?
Yes. That's a whole nother podcast.
What is the meaning of life?
But I think we should do a whole episode on maybe addiction because we have some obviously we have some personal history, but with the work I'm doing right now and substance abuse disorder and I think I mentioned on the other podcast I was on a Zoom call with Dr. Lloyd, the guy who starred Michael Keaton's character in Dope Sick. It was like I said, it was a combination of characters in that show, but the main guy was based on him. He was taking I think he said 100 pills a day of OxyContin and functioning as a physician. So it's a lot more common than people think. You can get help. We want you to get help, but the first step is probably realizing you need help.
Yeah. No, that really is the first step, and thankfully I just have a really good network of people around me here, so I was able to take that. Aaron was not the first person I called, but that's okay. That's okay. No, but Aaron's been there for me since, so I'd like to make that known, and thank you for that because I think the wider your network is when you're going through something like this, the easier it is to handle. Because at the very least, if somebody's busy, you send a text message out to 5 people, somebody's going to answer. Yeah. And so when you're feeling alone and things feel dark and, it's tough, you've got somebody to talk to. So. And
even if you don't, there's hotlines, there's phone numbers, and then talk to us, send us a message. We'll try and get back to you if you don't have anybody else. So.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I've always got all my notifications on. And so if somebody I don't know that well, or if somebody who just follows the podcast but doesn't know us personally hits me up on, Instagram or YouTube or something like that in the comments, or in our DMs, I'd be super happy to talk to.
Yeah.
Just I'm now by no means certified to do some kind of clinical counseling or anything like that. But
absolutely not.
I did get my degree in social work. I got my BSSW. So I do love talking to people and sharing stories and engaging with folks. So
you love to talk?
No comment.
I plead the fifth, except I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah. Wanted to talk about it.
But I mean, rounding this out, because I think we've kind of we've done our due diligence on it. I think I've failed in every grade. I don't know. I don't think I failed in middle school. I think I failed in high school. Definitely failed in college. Did not fail in undergrad, but or graduate school. But I did have to withdraw from a class.
Yeah, I know for me personally, man, I probably started drinking in part because of my anxiety. And I think, when my dad was in the military and we moved schools, I got anxious every time we moved schools, and I would fail all my classes for the first 6 months after we moved. So it's, it's a never ending process, but here I am at 30 years old, and I feel like I'm just figuring it out.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'm going to feel again a little more like that at 40, which just means that you never really quite do.
Didn't The Rock say that?
You're just
or
going to
something like that?
keep growing.
He's like, I think he had a little motivational speech. He's like, I was in my 20s. I thought I had it all figured out. Really got to my 30s, realized I didn't know shit.
Yeah.
And here I am in my 40s, and I'm like, okay, I'm finally starting to hit my stride.
Yeah. And I will say, I hope people figure it out sooner. But I just turned 30, and I'm like, oh, I don't have it figured out, but I'm just now who I want to be, or at the very least, I know what I need to do to try and get there. And I'll never reach that ideal person. You'll never be perfectly virtuous. That's just not obtainable. But what you can do is choose to wake up and kick yesterday's ass and try to be a little bit better today.
Yeah. Better than yesterday.
Yeah. And that's all we try to do.
Hell yeah.
So
I think I want to stop there.
Yeah,
How about you?
I'm good with that. I thank you guys so much for listening to us ramble, especially in the beginning. But I think it helps us get this out, and hopefully it'll help you too. So this is
Always Average.
signing off.